And it sounds like a small nitpicky thing, but that takes you out of that universe.
A lot of people have mentioned that a bit about. I've heard some people comment, and I think that'll be the next topic we'll talk about. But Marta, I want to get your opinion as a casual. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't care about any of the stuff that you guys I love it.
Comics Plus, what is going on? My name is Akasan.
JJ here.
Tyrone here.
Marta.
Yes. What is going on, y'all? We are in it here. We're just gonna be having a cool, chill, kickback conversation, talking about our favorite show of the year, The Mandalorian. Of course.
Mandalorian.
I mean, I would pretty much. I don't think there's anything else. Well,
The Boys.
I was about to say The Boys.
Like you did The Boys back seat really quick there.
No, it's just right now.
You got him here.
Yeah. It's like what you're into at the moment.
That's a hard call, actually. Now that I think about it, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see how the season wraps up.
The Boys is better, but visually and like.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Amazing. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
Boys.
Yeah. I think overall, but going back to what you're saying, overall, I think that's what's going to push it, because every Friday night I'm watching this with you, JJ. It's like I'm like, I cannot believe this is like free well, not free, but I can't believe this is just like digital television.
Yeah, we got Disney Plus, man.
That's the craziest part. Like it feels like I feel like I should be watching this in the the cinema and everything.
Yeah,
it's that good. Where The Boys is kind of more like, all right, this is just kind of a kickback TV show to.
I can't throw him under the bus with that either. The whale. I'm not
throwing.
Amazing.
The what?
Like where he went through the whale and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
The special effects on there is good too, but it's a different thing. Yeah. It's like apples and oranges.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're basically talking for the most part about season 2 right now. We're a little bit past the halfway point, but I thought this would be a great time to go ahead and get everybody in here. And we couldn't do this without our resident Comics Plus Star Wars encyclopedia of ourselves, because I know everybody's already going to be commenting, "Where the fuck is he?" Well, here he is. DC.
Oh,
hey, what's up, people?
How y'all doing? Eventually, he made it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Nice. New mic.
Sounds good.
Got myself a condenser mic that got canceled 3 times and finally showed up. And new lights.
Not like water anymore.
Desk and all that kind of stuff will be here next couple of days. But good to see you.
I see you copied my beard. Yeah.
I just kept going.
Yeah.
And DC-san, damn, your shirt is badass. Where did you get that?
That is nice.
Thank you. Nice. I don't remember if I got it from the States when I went back a while during season 1 or Amazon, but more than likely Amazon has them now. I have a couple of different shirts. Amazon did have a sale on shirts maybe 2-3 months ago. So I got a couple of them then. But nice. This is the way. How y'all doing?
This is the way. We're good. We're good. Right in time.
Taco night.
So let's just let's basically just tell me what are you guys' feelings for the most part. We're at the a little bit more than the halfway point for the Mandalorian season 2. As far as I know, DC Sun, you can probably confirm this. We're going to 8 just like last year.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. So they for now, the preliminary keeping with the 8. There are talks to potentially go to 10 for next season, but that is somewhat on the ropes because there's a lot of other things that go into it.
Okay, so we're at that, and for personally for me, just at the halfway point here, I'm enjoying the season. I don't know if I would say it's better than the first season at this moment in time, and I'm saying that as a perspective of as someone who knows a bit about Star Wars, but also kind of worries that this season has been like super fan service, or like every episode has kind of been like, okay, wait, who was that? Wait, what was that name drop? And like it feels like every episode tends to have to, you got to do some like homework if you really want to stay in the know. And as a Star Wars fan, I like that. But actually, but as someone who also looks at this with a general eye,
like a casual viewer.
Yeah, like I try to look at it as a casual viewing situation. I'm like, that's kind of annoying sometimes. Like every episode, there's like, tell me where insert random Star Wars name is. And I'm like, wait, we're doing this again? Like, and sometimes it pays off. As a Star Wars fan, I think it really pays off. When Ahsoka's name was name dropped, that was like the biggest moment compared to her actual episode. But then, you know,
for me, it was Bo-Katan.
Yeah. Well, but no. But her name wasn't dropped though. That's what I'm saying.
No. When she shows up and tells everyone, like, of course, those that follow know that, you know, Katie has been cast as that character, whatever. But when she just officially is like, I'm Bo-Katan, I was like, yes, thank you. I got you. As far as your fan service thing goes, I think it also depends on the viewer, because only fans, diehard fans, would pick up on those subtle name drops and places, things in the background, so on and so forth. The casual viewer, they won't pick it up. It won't stand out to them. And that's kind of what I like, because when I'm watching it with someone who doesn't know anything about Star Wars, their only experiences through the initial saga series, none of the animation, comic books, nothing like that. They're like, oh wow, that was a really cool episode, da da da. And we start talking about it, and it's like, hey, did you notice this, or did you notice this? So what? I got to go back and watch it now. And then that's where the trickle effect starts for them. It's like, is there a comic book related to this, or is there a YouTube channel where someone has information about this? All kinds of stuff. And I actually like that, because it makes them kind of like new fans to something that I've been following for a while.
So you feel, and I actually really like that, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you doing that as a fan. So you feel that this is actually a good gateway show,
definitely,
to get people into the Star Wars fandom, because I think that's also the big difference, because here's the deal: is like JJ doesn't know anything about the Clone Wars, and so
I thought it was
and Marta as well. Yeah. But I
2D
think
or
that's
3D or both.
He's talking about the second movie, or episode 2 was also called the Clone Wars.
I know all the.
So animation wise,
and the animated one. Yeah, there was an animated
animation called the Clone Wars.
They wouldn't even know.
Yeah. I saw like
that was short.
Season came on, and I was like, oh, this is cool. It's Star Wars. And then I saw it, and I thought it was kind of like a kiddie version. And
because the animation style, right?
And the animation style just looked cheap. But then like, when Akko was like, no, dude, this is like, it's canon and it's good. Then I went back and I watched him, like, oh fuck, I missed something really good. Like I was there from season 1, and then I didn't watch it because because they like the diet. Like I don't like the
so that's the point I was about to get to, because I think that's the big difference, is that I have seen these Star Wars fans tear apart JJ in the comments like almost every time, because he gets excited about something, but he might mispronounce something, or he might be thinking it's something different, and then you're like, yo, like, and that was from episode. So I think that's the thing that annoys me about this season. From episode 1, season 2, episode 1, we already had this rolling in factor of like, what the fuck you mean? That's fucking what was his name? Boba Fett. That's fucking Fett. How do you not fucking know that? Oh my god,
you and me for different things there.
But I mean,
I'm like, oh my god.
Also one of the things, but that's, unless you watch the classic, you're not going to know.
But see, that's the thing. It's like, but no, not even that. Like I've watched the classics, but for me, I personally, and so that's the thing. So I think that's also a big thing. Marta, I want to ask you, because you've actually been privately watching this. I didn't even find this out until yesterday. So for someone that has no clue, and you don't have any friends that are like that you talk to on a daily basis about Star Wars, what is the Mandalorian this season felt like for you?
Well, I mean, Fei, she's been a big, it is called gatekeeping. Fei has been like, I've chatted with her a little bit about it. I've just been so busy to really even talk about much, honestly. But oh my gosh, the season is so epic. I mean, it's just, Oh, like what do you say? How can you sum up your like one's feelings about the Mandalorian? It's such a good, rich, dense
Right
story.
here.
And yeah, it is the way.
This is the
Also,
way.
as
Sums
a
it.
family guide, that was like really terrible.
What did you think of episode 2? So me and Aka had a thing about episode.
Well, hold
2.
on. Let Marta finish
Okay.
what she was trying to say. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just really good. The only thing that like I wish I felt more of was the excitement of these Clone Wars characters coming in. I knew about Ahsoka Tano because I've seen her on the posters, I've seen her toys in the toy aisle, and I'm like, hey, who's that female badass looking character from Star Wars that's hanging on the shelf? You know, so like I kind of know a little bit of who, like barely anything of who she is, but I think I know her. I'm assuming her relation to what's his name?
Anakin.
Yeah, but I haven't. I was gonna ask Faye, but I was like, I don't want to.
Do you want us to tell you, or you want to?
No,
figure it out on your own?
I was.
I don't know.
DC Sun is doing a very good job here. So just FYI,
Yeah,
to
because
everybody
believe me, it's. I'm like, ooh, should have told you.
FYI to everybody on the stream and everybody in this group. Everybody here has really different knowledges of Star Wars. I think the hierarchy here is DC Sun, obviously at the top. I'm going to say I'm probably secondary on this one. Tyrone, I'm not really sure on your level.
Well, I do love Star Wars, but I haven't watched the Clone Wars.
So movies only then, for the most part for you.
Yeah, movies only.
Okay,
yeah,
so then JJ's
books.
right after me, then Tyrone, and then I'm going to assume Marta here, right?
Yeah, because I haven't
fair
seen
enough?
Rebels or Clone Wars, those
Right.
two. But I have rewatched
Or Resistance,
the main movies, and kind of to backtrack on what you guys.
Nah, like it's funny. It's funny seeing all of you guys kind of talk about this DC Sun. Like, yeah, that's a whole nother story. But it's
don't
fun.
know about the Tootie, man.
Who?
Who?
Huh?
Tatooine. I said the Tootie.
Yeah, you said if you're gonna try to clown, dude, you better get the fucking planet right, bro. You didn't know about Tootie, bro. Yeah, come on now.
Tatooine.
Yeah.
Like I did experience some of that stuff.
Because you have Tatooine and Tatooine.
Of like,
Isn't that
like the references to the main movies. That was fun to experience, but I wish that I could get in on the Clone Wars. But like I was gonna say, to kind of backtrack on like the Mandalorian being an opener for a lot of people, my mom is 100% proof of that because she's only ever seen Star Wars, not Star Wars A New Hope, no. Star Wars in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, she liked it, but she never got into the rest of the series. And after watching The Mandalorian, I was like, Ma, you got to watch it. You're going to like it. It's kind of like a Western. I know you kind of like Westerns and this and that. It's like, just watch the first episode. And after the first episode, she was hooked. And we've actually been watching the movies in order of release. So right now we're up to episode 3. So she's seen 3, 4, 5 and a half movies so far. And then we're going to work our way to the new ones. And then I guess if I'm still here, then we're going to be watching Clone Wars if she's into it. I think the thing that turned me off about Clone Wars, kind of similar to JJ, was I thought that it was going to be a children's show. And I was like, I don't want to watch a kiddie show.
Yep.
And everyone was like, nah, you really got to watch it. Like all my
And
adults
watching
it.
And you know what? To be fair, I think that is really where the target audience was when they first started that show. But just like Avatar, just like so many other things, you know, those children, they grow and then they develop. And Clone Wars has been around off and on the air for what, 8-10 years now, DC Sun?
8 to 10, yeah.
Yeah,
because
8 to 10 years.
There was a massive break between what was somewhat the full version of, if you will, of Clone Wars. Then they decided, yes, we're actually going to do a final season, but that had a massive gap in between because when it ended, the ending, fans weren't really satisfied. The story felt like it wasn't finished. So they went back to kind of clean that up, which also ties into somewhat of what you're watching now because it takes place after. But yeah.
So one
Yes,
of the
Tatooine.
fan comments I was reading is that there's 40 episodes of the Clone Wars that are not released. Is that true?
There's between 37 and 43 episodes that weren't released,
and that is
a lot of
after Clone Wars and between Rebels. Then,
story wise, it goes throughout the entire series. It's not just one part or another. A lot of that happens with a lot of shows. You'll have episodes that are made, produced, even filmed, and then maybe something will happen, in the world at that time, and it hits too many chords at that time, and it's sensitive, or it's like, oh, maybe now's not the right time, or because of the way the story's going and the fans, we feel that this path is better, so that's the direction it goes in. But in other cases, it just happens to where they just get dropped off because of production help.
And one of the things to keep in mind about Clone Wars is the way the release situation is all really cut up. If you actually watch it in chronological order, that's the worst way to watch it. Behind the scenes, George Lucas would just come up with some ideas and be like, "Hey, I want you to do a story about this," right in the middle of production, and they would break the story.
Break it up.
That list I've sent. There's actually an official viewer's guide to a lot of it, and even with that viewer's guide, it still seems out of order as hell. But
even for the most movies, there's a viewer's guide. You don't watch them in. You can watch them released, but there's a specific way to watch without spoiling parts of the story and what happens with the characters and the reveals. Sorry, continue.
But overall, what I would believe is that the Clone Wars animated series is definitely a good experience. As someone who just finished it earlier this year, and I've now moved on to Star Wars Rebels. I got up right up to the perfect point for last week's episode. What I wanted to ask more of the casuals is, how do you feel about the way The Mandalorian, the show, has been put out as a Star Wars show compared to your experiences of other parts of Star Wars? Known as the movies, like more pacing? Or less known as just the movies more or less known as like a space drama, so to speak, a space opera, fantasy. Whereas the Mandalorian has been more or less a Western for the most part, except maybe that last episode. How are you guys feeling about just the Star Wars franchise in general now? Because one of the things for me, as someone who's been friends with DC Sun for the longest time, this dude would not shut up about Mandalorians when this show was announced, and he was like, "Yo, man, you gotta understand, like." Look, you gotta. These guys are like fucking samurais, and like they got a code of honor, and you really gotta join our. Like literally, Dante is part of the Japanese crew of Mandalorians out here. That's like a legal deal, and all that. And I've met some of his friends. Yeah,
what is that?
So that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing. I'm just saying. The way he described it. And the way I've been watching it, I'm like, okay, now I get why he's kind of hyped about it. Because to me, it completely changed my idea of the Star Wars universe. And it opened up this whole idea of what bounty hunting and
other
codes
and in general.
Yeah. And I love that. So I want to ask the casuals, how do you guys feel about how has the Mandalorian show sort of changed your life or your view on Star Wars? Tyrone, I'll let you go first.
Oh, well, I've always loved Star Wars. Like, I've Star Wars merch all over my room over here. So I'm a casual when it comes to TV shows, because I kind of also thought the Clone Wars was for kids. And it just, when it was on television, it just wasn't something I was watching. I really have to limit myself on how many TV shows I can watch at once. But for me, I love it. I was really excited when I heard that they were coming up with a new Star Wars space television show. So yeah, like as soon as I watched the first episode, I was hooked. I was like, it felt like an older Star Wars movie, like I felt when I was a kid when I first watched Star Wars. I figured, well, other than DC Son, me and him are probably the oldest people here. So I feel like I was younger when I watched Star Wars when it was new. So when Star Wars first came out, it was new to me. So I was a kid when it came out. So I felt that feel. Yeah. So I'm aging myself, but yeah. So that feeling when I was younger, when I first watched, Return of the Jedi. When I first watched it, that was like my favorite Star Wars movies for the longest. Mm-hmm. And so I got that feeling again, which I hadn't had in a long time. You know, when I was even with the new movies, I was excited because of the Star Wars movies. I loved it, but for this, it kind of brought back those old feelings and the old full of excitement and everything. So yeah, I like it. And after my opinion on the second season, I feel like they put in a lot more money in this season than the first. You can tell, like it looks like way better.
Definitely more budget.
Yeah, more budget. But which for me a little bit, it lost a little bit of its magic from the first season because it seems very, very produced, where it seemed kind of like a little more like rough.
You like that older old school budget, like that older grimy sort of feel that it had. Yeah. Like really they weren't. Exciting. Yeah, I agree with you. All right, JJ.
That much.
I know what Tyrone is kind of talking about.
Though. No, I know what he means too, and I agree to an extent, but I don't know.
So JJ, your thoughts on the Mandalorian? Like, what has it done for the Star Wars? Your thoughts on the Mandalorian and what it's done with you and your feeling about Star Wars?
What it's done with me? Well, I always hate to be the guy going the opposite way, but everyone's like, I'm sorry. I love Boba Fett. He was my favorite character since I was a kid growing up. I was excited when I heard about it, but the new Disney movies I wasn't so good on. I didn't like them pretty much at all.
You're referring to the sequel trilogy or the prequels?
Yeah, the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
So I didn't have high expectations for The Mandalorian, but when I watched it, I love it and it's great. But as me and you have discussed, we've been watching it, you can kind of call every scene that's going to happen. And the story is very predictable, so I can't immerse myself into it because it's like the script is see-through, but the characters, the amazing detail to it all, the backstory in that, I love adding in those details, and I think it's better not knowing the things because it's fun. It's fun for me to watch the Clone Wars series now and be like, oh shit, that reference to that one. And so it's kind of better not knowing to me because you can watch it and still enjoy it. And then if you go back and you learn these things by watching the Clone Wars, then it makes it an even deeper thing.
Okay.
But the story, it kind of bugs me that it's so see-through.
So do you feel like it's improved? Do you feel like it's improving your Star Wars feeling or fixation, or do you feel it's diminishing it?
No. I mean, like, it's enjoyable. But it's not epic. Like when Star Wars first came out and it was its own thing and everyone's like, holy shit, what is this? Mandalorian's like, it's cool.
I see.
Again, going back to the boys.
You're getting burned at the stake in the comment section.
I don't care what people say.
But I appreciate
but it's also good to hear that view on something that people really, really take to heart. So it's nice hearing.
He's talking about himself. Sorry, I almost just fell out of my fucking chair. Trigger DC, son. All right, Marta, go ahead.
But real quick, the theme of being a Western too is I like it and I don't like it.
Okay.
Because
it's not predictable.
What I don't like is it's every scene from a Western that's stereotypical. The tumbleweed going by. The last episode we all just watched, there's a cowardly villager that's like, oh, is everything safe? And then he comes out at the end, he's like, oh, thank God, like a little Ewok, like, oh my God, you saved me. And it's just like, you knew it was going to happen for the first time that you saw that character in that episode.
I will agree a bit with JJ is that I feel sometimes the homages are just put on way too thick. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I get it, aliens, and we talked about that in the last episode. We're like, okay, I get it, you love aliens, I get it. This is a reference to the scene in Aliens. Okay, please don't make the whole episode basically be like an Aliens homage. Okay, please don't make this episode be like an entire Akira Kurosawa love letter like that. Like I get where JJ's coming from because the casual people probably wouldn't really care, but I think a lot of cinemaphiles and I feel sometimes that's a little too much. And Dave Filoni is really big at doing that a lot. Even when watching the Clone Wars, I'm like, yo, did he just legit copy The Fugitive and make an animated version of it? All right, Marta, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, was there anything else, JJ?
One last thing I want to say, and it's like if you go to the directing of Star Wars, you know how in the new ones they really they still do the Star Wars thing, like the wipes and clears.
Yeah.
In their directing, but in the last episode we see it's very taking out of that universe, and they're doing that Akira Kurosawa low angle shot and everything, and it sounds like a small nitpicky thing, but that takes you out of that universe.
A lot of people have mentioned that a bit about. I've heard some people comment, and I think that'll be the next topic we'll talk about. But Marta, I want to get your opinion as a casual. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't care about any of the stuff that you guys I love it. I love that it's Western. I love that I'm not a cinemaphile because stuff like this doesn't get ruined for me. It doesn't feel old. I don't get tired of it, and I don't overanalyze it. The only thing that has really stood out and that like I definitely have in mind is just that it is a Western style. But I enjoy that because I like that it's different from the very like operatic versions of Star Wars that we've had in terms of the movies. I like that it's different because like after I've rewatched the entire like main movie sagas, I think 3 times over now, in its entirety. And they're so freaking similar. I'm like, dang, they couldn't come up with something a little bit more original. Like
that's a good point. People have said that the sequel trilogies is basically rewashing.
It's the same story 3 times over.
Totally.
It is.
That's a good argument to make.
It's a good thing, but it was also done on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's like history repeats itself, but the hero's story, the hero's journey is for that hero to basically make their own path. We don't have to agree with it, but the initial idea is that hero, the unsung hero, or the hero who doesn't really want to step out of their shell, they have to. They're faced with certain, adversities, and it's like, well, what do I do in this situation? It's like, oh, well, what would I do as a viewer? I'm watching this, and it's like, oh, I would do something like that. But then the character does something completely different. It's like, oh, wow, that's surprising. I really enjoyed that, or I really hated it. That's done on purpose.
Yeah, like
So-
I don't think it's like very like too terrible. I like all movies, so.
I'm not saying that I like all of them. I didn't say that. But I do understand what you're saying, because the repetition for some people is like, oh, wow, that's cool. And then you have the group where it's like, I don't like that at all. So that's why you had the 50-50 split with The Last Jedi. Some people really liked it, and some people like completely hated it. So but we won't talk about that.
I don't want to get into those movies right now. No. I really want to keep it on the Mandalorian. DC Sun as a
fan.
What? No. What do you call that shit? Where like people are really good at something like there's an actual literal word for it, like not guru, but there's one other word I can't think of right now. As a connoisseur, or I think,
connoisseur,
I think that's the word I'm thinking about. Anyway,
Star Wars connoisseur.
For you,
all right,
DC Sun, how have you felt about The Mandalorian? How is it respecting the Star Wars lore? Has it improved it?
For me, as a viewer, looking at it from a casual perspective, I definitely enjoyed the first season because, was looking for something to kind of cleanse my palate of what had come out recently. Also, because I've been like dying for them to do something with some content that hasn't been done. And it's like, dealing with the Skywalkers, that saga, fine, dandy, great. You don't like it. Okay. But as far as content, I've always wanted them to do something away from them, or to show, if it's within that same timeline, from someone else's perspective, a different character, if you will, because I think that would be interesting to see how, okay, with all this going on, how did it affect the people around them? Because we're following the storyline of that main group. So this is kind of doing that, and then also somewhat pulling a little bit away from it, going in its own direction. So I'm really enjoying that. You know, I've always been keen on, hey, why not just do something with Old Republic? Because unless you played the games and read the books, you don't know anything about it. It'd be new and fresh for everybody. And it'd be interesting. New characters, new designs. You'll have very subtle tropes, but not as heavy as it is now.
So Old Republic literally could be the next Game of Thrones, space Game of Thrones.
like if they, not joking, if they did a TV series of that, just take my money, because
I've never even watched the Old Republic, but from what I know,
When was the time period of Old Republic again?
Like
1,000 years,
3,000 years, between 1 to 3,000 years beforehand, depending on how far back you want to go,
or whatever.
Before what movie?
Even outside of that,
A New Hope and all that.
Oh, really?
Before all of this happens, like they don't exist at all at this time.
There is no chosen one.
As far as The Mandalorian goes, season 1 and season 2, I like that they feel similar, but also very, very different. Thank you. 3,000 years. I do like that season 2 feels like it has a little bit more money, so you can do more with the characters, more with the action, more with the scope of it. Because if you go back and watch season 1, it's enjoyable, but you also start to feel a little bit of tunnel vision for some scenes or episodes. But that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. As far as the nods and things to Aliens and other movies, it's kind of funny, and I could see why it bothers some people. This last episode, just like I want to say the fourth it's the fourth episode of season 1, if not the fifth. No, the fourth episode of season 1, where they go to, where basically they have to save the village.
That one. I believe you're right. That was probably the fourth
season. That was 4. Okay, so
the Bryce Dallas Howard one.
The idea behind Star Wars is, yes, somewhat of a nod to Akira Kurosawa. That's why you have a lot of those tropes and style, because that's actually what made Star Wars what it is. But in retrospect, I do see why some people are like, oh, it's a bit too much, because I know it. But not knowing it and watching it, it's amazing. But even for me, knowing it and watching it, it's like, oh, wow, that's cool, because I live in Japan. I'm in Asia. So as I'm watching this, as he's walking up to the town, or even scratch that, when Ahsoka's knocking off people and she comes up to the gates, I'm looking at it, it's like, this looks like the gates to an old temple or castle in Japan. And even with the way the forest looks, you know, you basically copy and paste a bamboo forest there, and it's like, that's what that is. When you walk in to that village and you look at the lamps, to the walls, to literally the tiles on the ground, you're walking through an old feudal Japanese village. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. That the guy who seems like a coward, who's always standing in the back, that's because that's that one guy, he's known as the Witness. So all the other characters that are there, you see them passing by, but you have no interaction with them. But there's always that one character that stands out as the Witness, because that's supposed to be our perspective.
Right.
If we're in that village, we are that person. So it's cheesy, but I also liked it because it fits for a nod to something that happened in old film, whether it be Japanese or not, also in Westerns. I find that really attractive as a viewer.
Okay.
And I like the griminess of what's going on. The nods to characters and things, I like it as a fan, but it also has me wonder, is that a plot hole, or will that work? Well, how's this going to play out? So it has me thinking a different way on the side as well.
See,
but all in all, I'm enjoying it.
There's people that view it and they want to see this stuff, like these nods and these stuff, to be like, oh, I know that, or oh, that's cool, that's there. And there's people that want to be immersed, like you want to be in the movie.
Well, when I watch, I'm pretty immersed into it because it's good. I'm enjoying it.
I feel
when you know what I mean. 2 episodes ago, when you had my X-Wings pop up, I was like, yo, I kid you not, I screamed. Why? Love me some X-Wings. And just the fact that they brought it in, I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Given style-wise, yes, what JJ mentioned of being able to figure out what's going to happen, that scene where they come up to him, ask for code and all that kind of stuff, is like, something's up. Because just the way the camera is angled at the X-Wings is like, it's a little too long. Then they open up into attack. It's like, yo, what? And it's like, yeah, crazy. But then the episode before this, when he's on the fishing ship, and dude's telling him, hey, why don't you get closer and look? I'm like, why would you even do that, dude? That's just stupid. Don't do that. And as soon as he gets closer, what happens? They set him up. I was like, really? That could have been worked a little differently, but that was a personal gripe of mine. That was the only thing that really bugged me so far.
So it was episode 4, by the way, of season 1 that you were referring to by Bryce Dallas Howard.
Good man.
Segueing into that, I do want to talk about this, and this is kind of still a continuation of a more of a technical aspect, but it also it does kind of tell a lot about the story.
Hey, Blade. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we got Carl Weathers,
but not
Gina,
so much on that side. Sorry.
All right, so we've had about 7-something directors on the Mandalorian so far, for only a total of so far at this point, 13 episodes. We're talking about Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Bryce Dallas Howard, Rick Famuyiwa, Carl Weathers, Peyton Reed, and Robert Rodriguez. So and something that I've noticed a few people already comment on is the fact that it's cool that all of these famous and not so famous or famous people are getting a chance to direct, but sometimes it does feel like these episodes are standing out, but not in the right way, because they're for example, the last episode we just got that was directed by Dave Filoni, it was really cool. That was very Japanesey, but at the same time, when it fits into the rest of the season, what are your guys' thoughts about this, in the sense that do you feel like they sometimes pop out a little too much, like they're kind of like its own special, and sometimes could really even be classified as sometimes filler, like in terms of the actual story,
because it's setting something up,
right? How much have we actually seen Max Gideon, he was the big sort of supposed to be the kind of the big bad, but we've seen him like a total of 30 seconds this entire season.
I know, so isn't it great?
Well, that's the question. But that's the question. Like, for some people, is that really cool, or for other people that's like, yo, when are we getting Gus from Breaking Bad? Is he coming back or not, like that? So I guess Tyrone, let me know about what do you think in terms of the directing?
Well,
do you feel like it's jarring, or is it fine?
Not for me. For me, not so much, because I'm really focused more on the story than on the directing, to be honest. Sometimes you can tell with some episodes, because I can say, it feels like a different director, like maybe the angles they use, but it really doesn't. I don't really focus on it that much. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, the story. So for me, I feel like some of the stories, some episodes did kind of feel like filler episodes for a second. It's like, is this a filler episode on a season that only has 8 seasons? I mean, eight episodes.
Yep, I agree. Yeah.
Like, do you really want to do that? But I think I didn't forget what I was going to say.
But for the most part, you feel like the directing it's not jarring for you, right?
No, not so much. As long as the story is consistent,
Okay,
just
Marta.
like,
Go ahead. Are you okay? Okay, Marta.
I'm trying to think of any episodes where I felt like it was a filler, and it's really hard, just because I trust that because it's so condensed into each season is so condensed, that everything has a purpose, and that they want you to remember certain things, and they want you to forget about certain things. They want you to forget about was his name Moff Gideon? Is his name?
Moff Gideon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gideon.
Forget about him. They definitely want you to forget about him this season. So
thank you, Marta. Thank you, Marta.
So I love that. I think when you I think sometimes you have to listen to the directors when it comes to that sort of thing, because if you put too much pressure of like, okay, is he coming back? Are we going to see him again? Are we going to see him again? Then it's just like you're not paying attention to what they're showing you in that moment. You're too busy thinking about, is he going to pop up now? Is he going to pop up now? Is he going to come through and like fuck everything up? So I just feel like I think I'm trusting the directors, because I don't kind of like Tyrone. I don't really pay too much attention to it. But I definitely trust the directors and where they're going and what they want us to focus on. And I definitely think they want us to forget about Moff Gideon. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. I do want to say one thing.
Blow us away with something.
Yeah.
Ahead,
actually, do have one thing I want to say about him. I remember now was I think they're not showing him so much. Like Marta said, they want you to forget about him, because the big bad that you don't see, you are constantly worried about him. And I think it does make the character stronger. If you see him always, you after a while, like, I see this guy too much. But so, like she said, you never know when he's going to show up. So he only when he shows up, so he's in the background doing things. So you're thinking, what is he doing? Like, what is he working on right now? Because if you see what he's doing, there's no mystery. And so right now they want us to focus on the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda and this whole story, because something big is going to happen towards the end, I think.
Yeah,
Well,
like the play character I mentioned.
That they're also, I mean, like you kind of already see that he's scheming something, because that episode they're stealing weapons. Why are they stealing weapons? What are they preparing for? What battle is about, like that we might see. It could be in the grand scheme of things they're preparing for movie stuff. Okay. But I just feel like there's a purpose to it. Why would they want them stealing weapons and trying, like it just the little details. They'll stitch
JJ, shortly, do you have any response? Anything you want to say about that? About the directing?
Shortly.
I think I already said that.
I think you covered it, right? And DC Sun, I think we all know where you stand on this. I will say
that he's not there.
What?
I like that he's not in the picture throughout the whole thing.
Moff Gideon,
but it also yes, Moff Gideon. But it also leads to, okay, well, there's a name that was mentioned in the past episode. People who haven't watched Clone Wars, so on and so forth, or Rebels, you may not know. Thrawn. The only thing I'm going to say is that is one of the characters that people have been dying to see because of their position in the overall story, especially in the expanded universe. And for them to be like, we're not going to use anything from the expanded universe, but now to slowly be going and using stuff like that, it means a lot. It means a lot. And it also leads the hardcore fans feeling like, well, then that means Moff Gideon maybe isn't the big bad.
So, and I will say that, but that's one of those things.
And if
if
he is, then something very, very catastrophic has to happen, because,
or it could be
there's more to it.
There's different arcs, right? My idea is Moff Gideon's going to have his arc, like maybe
I think so.
And then they go off into something else with Thrawn or whatever.
Yeah,
because I definitely feel like this season is really similar to The Boys. I feel like this season is not. It's a bridge season to open up some other things. There's been talks of a spin-off show with Carol Dune or Cara Dune, and a spin-off with Ahsoka. All these sort of talks here, just like The Boys, season 2 was essentially setting up some other stuff going on with their spin-off show and what have you not. So I'm not so against it, but at the same time I'm like, okay, they're name dropping a huge name with only 3 episodes left. Yeah, we're not going to get much of anything probably from him this season. But there's hints of there's always it leaves the door open that anything can happen in this story. We might even have Luke is around out there somewhere. We might, I've even heard rumor about Sebastian Stan. I'm like, okay,
because the young Luke
Marta,
and
you make that
Sebastian
face
look alike. They look very, very. They look really, really similar.
Yeah,
like they could be twins at that time period.
Remember the Winter Soldier, JJ? The guy who played the Winter Soldier? That guy.
Him.
with his short hair, he really looks like young Mark Hamill, or after Return of the Jedi. It would be perfect casting.
No,
Perfect
but I
casting.
was making the face of like, wait, Luke is a Jedi at this point?
Yes.
I'm not.
Aka.
What? Huh?
No, she hasn't finished the movies. She hasn't finished the movies. Don't say
the
anything.
original movies.
Huh?
Yeah,
No,
she's
the original
watching.
movies.
She's watching.
Oh no, I've seen all the. I've seen all 9 movies.
Yeah.
So this is
She's
between the
rewatching them.
I'm just trying to.
So okay,
I'm
so
still a little blurry.
so
I got you. All right, so timeline
Mandalorian
check,
is 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
which was episode 6.
So technically, that's episode 6. In
Yeah.
the original release, it's the 3rd movie, but it's episode 6.
Yeah.
The middle of those stories. This is 5 years after.
Oh, okay. See,
So
I don't know why I had in my.
No worries.
If I googled it, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, no worries.
So that's why
had in my
in
head
season
that it
1 you see stormtroopers, but they're all kind of dirty looking.
Yeah.
There's no. Basically, it's a power vacuum. Everybody's vying for
Yes,
power because
correct.
the Emperor is dead.
Oh, that's right.
And
Because
there's no Death Star.
The second
Death Star. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I just lost. I lost
just
my
a double.
sense of time.
So just a double.
Right.
Just to
Right,
let you
Blake.
know, Luke is alive. Leia's alive. Darth Vader dead. Palpatine dead. Anybody else? Yoda's dead. Okay. Any otherybody up? Obi-Wan obviously dead.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much. Kyle's not born. Wait, Kylo? No. So Kylo Ren is probably not born
Remember,
yet.
this is 30.
Right.
This is 30 years before
Right.
all that, whatever you want to call it.
Rey's not around. None of those people are around yet. So we're okay. So there's still a lot of history for them to kind of play around with right now. And that's what kind of makes this special. Yeah. So yeah.
That like they like I feel like the original 9 movies really right. Am I right in saying they didn't get into much into the Mandalorian lore and stuff? We only see 2
You're
guys.
correct.
Yeah, I agree, Blake.
Yeah, you're correct.
I love that we're getting more details about it, and especially in that first season when we had those scenes in the in the blacksmith little dungeon.
Right. The
Thing,
forger, yeah.
and listening.
The armor.
I was really paying attention to the dialogue, and especially the second time that I watched it with my mom. And she was seeing it the first time. I kept paying attention so much to that dialogue and trying to eat up as many details as possible and kind of store it in the memory bank. Because I love that they're, I guess, coming up with this brand new lore with the Mandalorians, and it's super, super cool. For me, it's
they're not necessarily coming up with it. It's already been, it's been established, but they're
flushing it out.
Some stuff is from Clone Wars that I haven't seen that they've already established. I'm sure, I'm sure they're taking lore from that in terms of the Mandalorians, and
they're basically giving it, like, somebody made a really good point about there's an argument that was brought up, and I think somebody actually answered this very well, is the fact that the last episode was called The Jedi, but for those that are familiar with Ahsoka, that was a little puzzling of why they named it that way. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but there's kind of puzzle. Like, I was a little puzzled. I was like, but
really?
But the thing is,
in between though, right?
Well, that's kind of gray area, isn't it?
Right. So, but I don't want to say exactly what happens about that. But I think the reason people, somebody actually answered it in the comments, and like, because they understood where I was coming from as well. Because there's a very famous line that I was really waiting for Rosario Dawson to say so I could like scream, because I just saw it the night before in the animated version. But somebody made a good point, was they kept it kind of vague like that because of the people that have only watched The Mandalorian. If she came in and started correcting people on the show, then those that aren't really familiar be like, wait, what? Huh? What? And there's not really enough time in that short amount of the episode to really get into the backstory. So I kind of get that. And then on the other side, from what is our Mandalorian's real name, DC son? Dingo or something?
Din Djarin. Oh my goodness. Din Djarin.
Din Djarin, okay. Din Djarin, from Din Djarin's point of view, she is a Jedi. So there we go. So I get that. Yeah, I get that. So
just one quick small thing.
Yeah.
Jaren, yeah.
The reason why I say I hope not, and I'll keep this very short, is because I don't want core characters from the movies to pull away from